Thank you very much. The hard questions are the good ones, so don't try to spare me.
Thank you, Dr. Willard. You've given us an enormous amount to think about. Our faith is built on a foundation of knowledge. We're going to move right to questions. We have 2 mics, one over there and one over there. We'll form lines on either side. We've got about 20 minutes or so for questions. So if you have a question, just move up to the mic. Please only ask questions. Don't make long statements, okay? Questions solicit information, and so that's what we're looking for. Additional information, additional clarifications. We'll start over here. Ron.
Dr. Willard, thank you so much. I just had a question about the gospel you call the mere forgiveness gospel.
Yes.
And could you comment like on Acts 10:43, where Peter seems to say that all you have to do is trust in Jesus as your Savior from hell to have...
What did he say from hell?
Well, he did imply that in the context of salvation, to receive forgiveness of sins.
What's the verse?
Acts 10:43, and then
10:43.
And
watch the wording.
Okay, John 3:16, I guess, would be a clear reference to perishing or being ruined in hell, and the only condition there being to trust. I'm wondering how you would respond to Acts 10:43, John 3:16, in light of it seems to me that it's only the condition of trust.
Yeah.
And then when does a person have assurance, complete assurance that they're going to heaven? Those would be kind of a 2-part question.
Of him all the prophets bear witness that through his name everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins. Okay, that's right. Now the question is that all that you receive from trusting in him? Is that all you receive? Well, I think it's pretty clear it's not all you receive. You receive life from above, right? New life, that's called regeneration. And along with that, forgiveness of sins, right? So there's no question about the importance of forgiveness of sins. That's what the gospel of liberation leaves out. It doesn't want to talk about sin. And you don't want to leave that out. One of our problems today with the disappearance of moral knowledge is sin has disappeared from the vocabulary. And now people generally are like farmers that do not believe in bugs and weeds. They just believe in fertilizer. So you have to deal with sin, right? No problem with that. The issue is all you trust Jesus for is forgiveness of sins. Is that all you trust him for? No. You trust him for life. That's what you receive from him. You don't just trust his death on the cross. You trust Jesus, the whole person, who died on the cross and who rose and actually is now alive. One way of thinking of salvation is to say it's being caught up in the life that Jesus is now living on earth, in San Diego, here. That's salvation. So it's just a matter, you don't want to leave out forgiveness of sins. That may have been the point of the comment, I don't know. You don't want to leave that out. That's essential. The question is that all there is to it? If that's all there is to it, then there's absolutely no point whatsoever to discipleship and growth in character. None.
This is kind of piggybacks on the back of that in reference to the heavenly AAA
Right.
metaphor that you had. What would you say about sanctification being perhaps like a second step to that, in the same way that when Christ refers to his disciples in Luke, when he's preparing them for the Last Supper, and he says, I no longer call you slaves, I call you friend. It's like they've taken that next step in their relationship, and it's not just about the forgiveness of their sins now. Now it's about them being almost a chalice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's very important. But of course, if you think that sanctification is not a part of salvation, that forgiveness of sins is the whole deal, then there's nowhere to go. So sanctification is holification. It is the process of becoming separate unto God in all of your life. And when we are born again, we're in the kingdom of heaven, but the kingdom of heaven is not in us in many places. And so then we have a process of growth, of being with Jesus, learning to be like him. And that is where sanctification occurs. And it's very important. And I wouldn't want to deal with glorification unless I had sanctification pretty well in hand. Right? Because it might not be so nice. So that's very important. It's just, and we want a view of the gospel and of salvation that includes that. You don't have to be perfect.